You don't need to raise your voice to be heard. You don't need to brag to be seen. You don't need to beg to be respected. Because the most powerful people in the room often say the least. There is a kind of presence that speaks before the mouth ever opens. A presence built not on noise, but on essence. It's not what you say, it's what you are when you say nothing at all. Respect is not granted by titles. It's not earned through applause. Respect is born in the silent moments, in the stillness of restraint, in the quiet courage of doing what's right when no one is watching. The world teaches us to shout louder, push harder, fight for the spotlight. But real influence doesn't clamor, it commands. It walks into a room, and without a single word, it shifts the atmosphere. Think of Lincoln. A man of few words, yet his silence was louder than cannon fire. Or Rosa Parks, one act of quiet defiance sparked a revolution. No rant. No slogan. Just the steel of her spine and the stillness of her courage. That is the power of presence. That is the power of winning respect, without saying a word. People are watching, always. Not what you post. Not what you claim. But how you move. How you handle failure. How you treat those who cannot serve you. How you stand when life hits hardest. That's what they remember. Not your speeches, but your silence. Not your charm, but your character. Because words can be rehearsed. But character? That can only be lived. There's a reason why people trust those who stay calm in storms. Because when everything shakes, and you don't, they know. There's something unshakable in you. And that something doesn't come from books, from hype, from tactics. It comes from inner work. From forged values. From invisible victories no one claps for. There's a discipline to silence. Not the silence of fear, but the silence of mastery. The warrior who doesn't flinch. The leader who doesn't need to convince. The builder who lets his results speak instead of his ego. Respect is magnetized, not demanded. And you only attract what you've already cultivated within. So if you want respect from the world, start by respecting yourself in the dark. Wake up early when no one's watching. Show up when it's inconvenient. Keep your word, especially to yourself. Forgive faster. Speak less. Listen more. Do the hard things without broadcasting the pain. These are the quiet habits that sculpt kings and queens, not in headlines, but in legacy. Thomas Edison failed 10,000 times in the dark before anyone knew his name. He didn't tweet his setbacks. He turned them into power. He didn't complain. He persisted. And when the world finally saw the light, it realized the man behind it had earned every watt with sweat, humility, and silence. That's the thing, you don't need a crowd to validate your grind. You need patience, vision, and a backbone built from your values. Because the world gives loud praise to empty vessels, but it gives silent trust to the ones who've proven themselves quietly, consistently, relentlessly. We live in an age of noise, everyone's performing, everyone's broadcasting, everyone's desperate to be seen. But the moment you stop chasing attention, and start embodying intention, something shifts. You go from a seeker to a source. From someone needing validation to someone who validates by how they live. Respect isn't begged for, it's reflected back to those who walk in quiet certainty. Have you ever noticed how some people walk into a room and everything changes? It's not arrogance, it's alignment. They don't need to overpower. Because they're already in power. Not over others, but over themselves. Mastery over your impulses. Discipline over your distractions. Integrity over your image. These are not traits you inherit. They're forged, slowly, privately, painfully. And in that forging, a quiet confidence is born. The kind that doesn't need to explain itself. The kind that doesn't get flustered by opinion or applause. That's how you win respect. You make excellence your signature, even when no one is watching. You build your name on substance, not surface. And the world begins to notice, not because you're loud, but because your life speaks for itself. Remember, words are wind. But your habits? They're bricks. They build the foundation of your reputation, not through moments of performance, but through years of consistency. Think of the greats. Martin Luther King Jr. didn't become a symbol of respect because he was charismatic, but because he lived what he preached. Because his restraint was as strong as his conviction. Because his dignity was louder than his enemies. You see, it's not just about speaking truth. It's about being truth. Living in such a way that your very presence becomes a message. No need to convince. No need to defend. Just be. Fully. Authentically. Relentlessly. That's what the world respects. Not the loudest. Not the flashiest. Not the trendiest. But the realest. And real doesn't scream. Real shows up, day after day, with quiet fire and unshakable standards. Real doesn't demand recognition, it becomes undeniable. So guard your energy. Sharpen your focus. Don't waste breath trying to prove yourself to people who aren't even at peace with themselves. Let your journey be the proof. Let your work do the talking. Let your eyes tell the story of battles fought and values kept. Let your silence become so loud, it drowns out every doubt that ever tried to bury you. That's how you win respect. Not by shouting. Not by showing off. But by showing up. Over and over again, until your presence becomes power. Until your presence becomes power. Because real power doesn't announce itself. It enters with grace. It moves with purpose. And it leaves a mark, not on headlines, but on hearts. The kind of respect that lasts isn't earned in a single moment of brilliance. It's built in the moments no one claps for. The early mornings. The quiet sacrifices. The lonely decisions that align with your values, even when no one's watching. That's where character is carved. Not in comfort. But in conviction. See, there's a reason why some people walk through storms and never lose their way. They've anchored themselves to something deeper than approval. They've traded popularity for purpose. And in a world addicted to image, they've chosen integrity. They don't need to speak to be heard. Because their life is already doing the talking. And when you live like that, on principle, not on performance, you don't chase respect. It finds you. Slowly. Quietly. Unshakably. The world begins to lean in, not because you demand it, but because you deserve it. Not by trying to impress. But by refusing to be impressed by anything less than excellence. That's the paradox of power. The more you try to appear powerful, the weaker you seem. But the more you master yourself, the more others feel it, without you saying a word. So stay rooted in your truth. Let your silence be strategic, not passive. Let your standards rise higher than your need to be liked. Because people may forget what you said. But they will never forget how your presence made them feel. Walk like your footsteps carry intention. Breathe like your values are non-negotiable. Work like legacy is on the line, because it is. You're not here to impress the world. You're here to impact it. Not through noise. But through depth. Not through ego. But through essence. And when you do that, when you live from that unshakable core, you won't just win respect. You'll embody it. You'll become the kind of presence that stills the room. That commands attention without asking. That uplifts, without ever needing to announce its greatness. So, keep showing up. Keep choosing discipline over distraction. Keep being the message, not just speaking one. Because in the end, the loudest voice isn't always the most powerful. The most powerful is the one that doesn't need to speak to be heard. The most powerful is the one that doesn't need to speak to be heard. Because power isn't found in volume. It's found in value. And value is built in silence, through choices the world rarely sees. When you stay consistent, when you keep showing up even when no one's clapping, you stop chasing attention and start attracting respect. You become magnetic. Not by trying to pull people in, but by becoming so rooted in who you are, that everything not meant for you simply falls away. Most people don't realize this. You don't need everyone to understand you. You just need to be undeniable. Undeniable in your character. Undeniable in your discipline. Undeniable in your presence. Because people may not say it out loud. But they feel it. They feel the difference between someone who's performing for approval and someone who's living from principle. And in that difference, respect is born. Real respect doesn't come from likes or followers or applause. It comes from alignment, when your actions match your words, and your words are backed by a life that proves them true. Every time you choose patience over pride. Every time you choose humility over ego. Every time you choose to keep going instead of quitting. You're not just building strength. You're building a legacy. Because the most powerful stories aren't the loudest ones. They're the most lived ones. Think about it. When someone speaks with integrity, you lean in. When someone walks in peace, you feel it. When someone carries themselves with quiet certainty, you listen, without them needing to say a word. That's not charisma. That's character. And character doesn't need a spotlight. It is the light. So if you're walking through seasons where no one sees your effort, no one applauds your growth, and no one understands the standards you've set, keep going. Because that's where respect is earned. Not in the noise. But in the quiet. Not in recognition. But in repetition. You're not here to prove who you are. You're here to be who you are. That means holding yourself to a higher standard, even when others settle. It means doing the right thing, even when it's uncomfortable. It means living by principle, even when it's unpopular. And that's rare. But that rarity is what earns respect. Anyone can be impressive for a moment. But only the disciplined can be respected for a lifetime. Because respect isn't won through performance. It's won through persistence. Day after day. Choice after choice. Quiet victory after quiet victory. You don't have to post it. You don't have to prove it. You just have to live it. And when you do, when your life becomes a reflection of everything you stand for, the world won't just notice. It'll remember. So don't lower your standards to be accepted. Don't shrink your voice to keep the peace. Don't trade your authenticity for approval. Stand tall in who you are. Move steady in your purpose. And let your journey be your loudest statement. Because the ones who are truly respected, they don't chase the world. They change it. Quietly. Powerfully. Completely. Because impact doesn't always echo in applause. Sometimes, it echoes in silence. In the pause people take after you've walked away, wondering what it is about you that felt different. It's not luck. It's not charm. It's not accident. It's who you've become through years of invisible effort. See, there's a kind of strength the world overlooks. The kind that doesn't show up in headlines or highlight reels. The strength to be consistent when no one's encouraging you. The strength to be kind when the world gives you every reason not to be. The strength to stay true to your values, when compromise would be easier. That's not weakness. That's power. The rare kind that can't be taught in classrooms. Only learned in the quiet corners of your own journey. Because here's the truth. You can't fake real. You can't perform your way to deep respect. You can only earn it, by becoming the kind of person who doesn't just talk about excellence, but lives it when no one's watching. That means saying no when it's easier to say yes. It means showing up when you'd rather disappear. It means refusing to lower your standard just to fit into a world that's forgotten how to raise one. Let others chase trends. Let others perform for attention. Let others seek applause. You? Seek alignment. Let your life be a quiet rebellion against mediocrity. Let your presence be a reminder that dignity still exists. Let your silence carry more depth than 1,000 empty words. Because in the end, it's not your voice that earns you respect. It's your volume of character. It's how you treat people when they can't offer you anything. It's how you carry yourself when the room is full of noise and ego. It's how you keep your word when it costs you something. That's when people take notice. Not because you're the loudest, but because you're the most anchored. Anchored in discipline. Anchored in integrity. Anchored in something deeper than praise. So, don't be discouraged by the quiet. That's where legends are built. That's where clarity sharpens. That's where your soul stretches and grows into something unstoppable. Because the longer you walk your path with integrity, the louder your legacy becomes, without you ever needing to shout. You don't have to declare your greatness. You just have to demonstrate it. One action at a time. One choice at a time. One silent, unshakable moment at a time. And one day, the world won't just see you. It'll respect you. Not because you demanded it, but because you earned it. Silently. Consistently. Relentlessly.